Hey y'all, it's Kelly from Dixie Darling's Tumblers, and today I'm going to walk through the steps that I used to create the Neon Rainbow Lisa Frank Vibes tumbler that I did. So I'll go through prepping the cup, spray painting, glittering, how I paint my spots. I'll also go over how I use the Fonto app to create my offsets for decals. And you guys just give me any feedback, ask any questions you have. You know, I'm always here to answer questions, and I appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to start prepping my cup with Final Sand. It just takes a little bit with a maroon sky ring pad. Just kind of scuff the surface of the cup, and then I'm going to rinse it off, dry it with a paper towel, and I'm ready for paint. On this design, I really don't have a reason for starting with one color over the other. I usually just pick up one and start and work my way out. Especially on the first pass, I'm just trying to give myself a rough idea of where the colors are going to go, keeping in mind how much area I'm going to need for each color to lay my leopard spots. And I just do pass 2, 3, 4. I try to do pretty light coverage just so by the end, when I do get them finally blended in like I want them, it's not too thick and starting to run where I can't get it to dry at that point. And after I've let my spray painted cup dry, usually 30 to 45 minutes, I'm ready for applying my glitter, and I'm going to use the epoxy method. This is DIY's regular artisan art epoxy that I'm using. I've mixed up too much here for this because I'm doing other cups at the same time, but I'm only going to apply about 1 to 2 mLs on the cup. I just want a very thin coat on there. I don't want it where when I stand it up it's going to pool at the bottom of the cup. I just want barely enough on there so I can get really good glitter coverage. After I've let my cup sit with the epoxy on it for about 5 minutes, I am going to move into glitter, and I'm just going to use a very sparse coat on the first pass through. Just because on a cup like this, there's very little room for each color, and I want to try to blend them as well as possible, so I'd rather make more passes than have too much on there and not be able to ombre them in good. I am using all Peachy Olive glitters here. The colors are Lemon Heads, Orange Julius, Regina George, 112, Bejeweled, Kermit, Wazowski, and then I use Batman for the black on the outside of the spots. I will have all those listed and linked in the description box below. Now we're going to move into painting our leopard spots. So I like to put a little bit of acrylic paint of each color in with, I use Peachy Olive Glitters Clear Adhesive. You can use Mod Podge. I prefer Peachy Olive's Clear Adhesive. It seems to work better and dry quicker to me. So here I'm just adding just a little bit of each color into my little cups, and then I'm going to add Peachy Olive Glitters Clear Adhesive to it, and I'm going to stir it up, and then I'm going to use each color to coordinate with the glitter that I'm going to use. Once I start painting the inside of my leopard spots, I don't really have a pattern. You can kind of see that I'm just going back and forth from side to side within each color. And any spots that are left open, once I'm going back to paint the black around the outside of the spots, then I can just fill it in with thin. So I apply my glitter and then I just tap off the excess and move on to the next color. Y'all can see here that I am going back over the pink one more time, just the lighter color spots being on a darker base. I did need a second coat there. And then I also wanted to note that when I tap off my excess glitter, I kind of rotate my cup forward to dump the colors off. And that is just a lesson learned the hard way for me, that I don't want the darker colors to get on my lighter colored spots that I've just painted. So you can see I'm kind of rotating the purple glitter forward. That's to keep it from coming back on my lighter colored spots. Pretty much right after I've worked my way around the cup painting the different colored inside of the spots, I'm going to move into painting the outside with the black. And so I'm just going to mix in some black acrylic paint with a little bit more of the clear adhesive and get it ready to paint. So I'm using a pretty thin angled brush, and I don't really paint the spots around. I kind of just, I don't know if you would use the word pounce, but kind of dab the brush around the outside. So I feel like the more random it looks, the better. And then also, I have learned for myself, visually, I can see it better if I paint all the spots first. So where I'm going to go back and fill in those little spots in between the open places, I usually paint around the colors first. Just visually for me, it's easier to see that way if I do all the spots that are already there and then come back and fill in all the holes. Here I'm really just trying to make sure that I'm getting off all the black glitter. It definitely is a challenge on this cup to keep it off the lighter colors. So every once in a while I'll go in and even with my finger just kind of brush off, or any little places that I see that it might look like it's sticking, before I start filling in the spots. So here I'm just trying to go through and find open areas, put little dots or spots or whatever I think looks normal here. There's really no right or wrong. I don't think the more random the better it looks. And if you guys are having a hard time painting leopard spots or you haven't done it yet, I know for me the first couple of times I did, and still sometimes it gets in my mind that I feel like they don't look right, I'll just Google it and find a pattern that I like, and I'll have it as a reference sitting there next to me as I'm painting. So I found that to be a really big help. I'll also, as I'm going through and filling in the open areas, use this as a time to go back and touch up any of the previous spots that I've done as I'm working my way around the cup. Sometimes I need to go back and touch up, and maybe the glitter didn't stick well enough. So after I've let this dry really well, usually an hour, I'm going to apply 3 coats to this cup of Rustoleum 2X. Just because there's so much black that can move on this cup, I don't want any movement on that. After I let that dry for about 30 minutes and I make sure there's no movement on that black glitter, I'm going to move it to my turner, and here I'm applying DIY's Artisan Epoxy, about 20 mLs, and I don't show it in the video, but I'm going to apply this coat and I'm going to let it turn for about 6 to 8 hours, and then I'm going to go right into my second coat. Now I usually time mine where my second coat I'm going to let it sit overnight before I start sanding the next morning. Now, sorry I didn't do a better job of filming this for you guys. I'll try to do better next time. But here I'm just sanding. I'm going to sand around the top of the cup. I'm going to create a rim, just a thin rim around the top where my next layer of epoxy can adhere to the cup. And then I'm also going to sand around the top of the cup just because as I go across the cleaning process, I really just try to make sure there's no epoxy that can get inside the cup. And then I'm just going to go over the glitter, and anywhere that's a high point around the bottom where it tends to get a little rough too, I'm just going to sand those spots down before I go into my next layer. So first of all, sorry that my iPad's so dirty and it's got a light reflection on it, but I want to show you how to use the Fonto app for my decals. So here you can see there's a camera at the bottom, and then you select camera, and then you're going to take a picture, and in the bottom right hand corner it's going to say use photo, and then it's going to pull up that black screen that you just took. You're going to hit it and it's going to say add text, and in this case I'm going to say I want the name Noel. So I'm going to type in Noel in my box, and then I'm going to hit done, and for whatever reason it didn't come up on the screen there, but here it is right here. I'm going to tap it and it's going to let me select the font that I want to use. I already know that I'm using Pretty Hardy here, and then I'm going to tap the screen again, and I want to size it. I want to make it a little bit bigger, so I'm going to go to size and then make it bigger here. And then this is actually the size that I want for the smallest decal. So in the bottom right hand corner I'm going to select the little box that says save as PNG. Now I'm going to go back and tap it again, and I want to go to style, and I'm going to go to stroke, and I'm going to change the width. So here's going to be my first offset. So also I'm going to save this one as my PNG. Now I'm going to go back and do it again. I'm going to tap on it and do style and then stroke, and then I'm going to make it the width even bigger. So you can see it's creating an offset of the offset almost now. So I'm going to save that one as a PNG, and then I'm going to export all of that into Cricut. So once I have it in my design space, I'm going to print it out, and here I'm selecting the textured holographic option, and instead of using the default for pressure, I'm going to use more on this. So I love this Rainbow Mist vinyl. It's beautiful, but it's a little touchy to work with, so even using those two settings I have to go back in with a craft knife a lot of times and just kind of edge out some of it. Doesn't want to cut the circles on the ends or circles on the L's. So, and now I'm just going to layer it up, my 3 layers here, and get ready to put it on my cup. And I get asked a lot how I get my vinyl to lay so flat, and I really just try to make sure that the cup is sanded really well and there's a smooth surface that I'm putting it on, and I'm going to lay it down, and I just try to work really slowly as I'm putting it on the cup. After I have my decal applied, I am going to use a layer of CCDIY's Quick Coat. It's a really great sealer for any kind of holographic vinyl or foil that you're going to put on your cup. It keeps it from pulling up or bubbling when you apply your epoxy. So I'm going to let that dry for about 30 minutes, and then I am going to go into a layer of epoxy next. Now obviously I have way too much mixed up here for this cup. I was doing other cups at the same time, but I am going to use about 20 mLs here, and then I'm going to let the cup turn for about 6 to 8 hours, and then I'm just going to go right into another coat. It didn't really need to be sanded, but just because of this decal has 3 layers, I prefer to do a second coat over that. And finished product. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. Please feel free to reach out with any comments or questions that you have. I'm always glad to help and answer any questions that I can. So make sure you like, follow, share, subscribe, all that fun, crazy stuff. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you again soon.